Today, Harare is home to over 4 million residents. It is a buzzing city, but it wasn't always that way. For us to understand its history, we have to go back to the beginning. No, not that beginning. Yes, at this stage, local Shona chiefs, namely Mbire and Neharawe, were fighting for control of the area around the Kopi and the marshes that surrounded it in what we now call Harare. Down south, as in South Africa, this man, Cecil John Rhodes, and his British South Africa Company, inspired by the gold finds in the Transvaal and his amalgamation of the diamond mines, had become a very wealthy man. But that did not stop him from seeking more riches. Up north, where other prospectors were going in their droves to find gold. To do this, Rhodes set out to lure the local ndebele king, who had a reputation of being tricky-tempered. So Rhodes decided to seek help for his conquest from the British government through the colonial office, which was initially not willing because they didn't want to burden themselves with more African possessions. This is after they had colonized Bechuanaland, which is modern-day Botswana. At this stage, you might be saying, we came here for the origins of Harare. What is this that you're talking about? We're getting there. If you're enjoying the video, please leave a like and help us out by subscribing. So, Cecil John Rhodes succeeded in convincing the British High Commission to send representatives to Bulawayo to convince Lobengula to give him mining concessions. That is a whole video altogether. To cut a long story short, Rhodes basically duped Lobengula into giving him rights to his land and even the land of the Shonas as well, unknowingly. Rhodes went back to England and lied to them that Lobengula had agreed British occupation, and the charter was granted on the 29th of October 1889. It was in December 1889 that Rhodes met a 23-year-old Frank Johnson at the Kimberley Club, which is still there in South Africa today. And bluffly, the young Johnson told Rhodes that he only needed 250 men to colonize Rhodesia. Rhodes took him up on the offer and asked the young man to present his estimate. And the same day, a budget of £87,500, which is around 11 million pounds in today's money, was presented to him. And that was the birth of the famous Pioneer Column. There were thousands of applications to join this column, but artisans and tradesmen were given first preference, with the promise of getting 3,000 acres of land and 15 gold claims each in the promised land. They set off on the 15th of June from South Africa, led by the big game hunter Courtney Selou, hacking their way through the dense bush, and on the 11th of September, they managed to cross the Hunyani River, and Johnson glimpsed at what he thought was Mount Hampton. He had been given instruction to set up the fort there. But when he climbed up the Kopi, he saw, in his own words, something fascinated him more than Mount Hampton. It was a beautiful open plain with rich red soils. Dr. Leander Starr Jameson, who was to be the first administrator of this settlement, agreed. And in a ceremony that was held on the 13th of September 1890 at 10 a.m., 21 guns fired the royal salute, the Union Jack was hoisted, and settlement called Fort Salisbury was born. And on the 1st of October, the pioneers disbanded to become the first township of Salisbury, named after the then British Prime Minister, Lord Salisbury. That year, the country experienced one of the soggiest wet seasons ever experienced in Mashonaland, with over 50 inches of rainfall between October 10, 1890 and March 15, 1891. This saw many pioneers succumbing to malaria. To make matters worse, they had to rely on food, medicine, and equipment from South Africa, which would take a long time because it was being ferried by ox wagons. Rhodes had given members of the column a ban on women for 15 months, but obviously that didn't work. The settlement began to grow. New arrivals began to peg their stands next to existing ones, and Pioneer Street, which today is called Kaguvi Street, and Manika Road, which is called Robert Mugabe Road, were born. The first government buildings were built on the causeway, which still exists to this day. It is at this time that William Fairbridge, an agent of Argus, came from South Africa to see if he could establish a newspaper in this new settlement. To cut a long story short, on the 27th of June 1891, the first issue of the Mashonaland Herald and the Zambian Times, which we call the Herald newspaper today, was established. And during this time, whites began using African laborers in their factories, on their farms, and as tea boys. And they were settled in the same areas with the whites. And the whites were not feeling safe because of the earlier Shona uprisings. So they created the first settlement called Harare in 1907, named after the Zezuru chief, Chief Nearawe. At Zimbabwe's independence, it was renamed Mbare, and Salisbury was renamed Harare. That, my friends, is the origin of the capital city of Zimbabwe, Harare. If you liked the video, please hit that like button and consider subscribing if you haven't. That will really help the channel out. Let us know in the comments what local history you also want us to cover. See you in the next video.